Hey guys, it's Adam with Mods for Quads. Talking a little more about bowel health, and want to focus on a few different things, but I thought I'd start out by just sharing what my own personal routine is each morning, that I've kind of slowly developed over the years, and give you guys an idea of what I personally do. And it might be different for everyone, but I'd like to share that with you. So for me, first thing in the morning, obviously you wake up first, and for me, I like to get up as early as I can, and I rely on caregivers to help me get up. So I like to get up as early as they're willing to show up, which is usually between 5:30 in the morning and 8 in the morning. Early the better, I think, but everyone has their own preference there. And then at that point, first things first, range of motion. Most of you guys know that, if you don't stay stretched, if you don't keep going through your range of motion in your joints and in your limbs, they'll continue to get muscle contractures, and you'll get more and more muscle tension, and that causes a lot of issues, and one of them is diminished bowel activity from muscle tension. So the very first thing that I do is stretch through my range of motion in the morning. I worked with my PT and my OT at my local hospital to formulate a range of motion specifically for me, and it has morphed and changed a little bit over time as my situation and my recovery has changed a little bit. So I would personally highly recommend seeking out someone that's well versed in movement and range of motion, so they can help you get the most out of your range of motion, and so the people helping you can facilitate that without hurting you or themselves. And stretching is important in a lot of ways, but specifically in terms of bowel health, other than not getting muscle contractures, it stimulates your blood circulation, opens up your abdomen, and helps facilitate some of the natural processes that helps your elimination. So for me, range of motion is between 35 and 45 minutes. Kind of depends on how much paralysis you have, how much of your body you need to work on, and how long that takes based on your needs. For me, it's about 30 to 45 minutes. And then for me, I just do some basic hygiene. I have a suprapubic catheter, so cath care, pericare, changing over a bed catch bag to a leg bag, and then at that point, for me, I transfer into my commode / shower chair. And I want to point out that the commode chair that I use, I was riddled with wounds for a while, so it became very imperative for me to get a commode chair that had a custom molded cushion so that I could spend any time in it without getting acute autonomic dysreflexia. And since when I've traveled and tried using other commode chairs, like when I go to get reevaluated at Craig Hospital and use one of the loaner chairs they have there, I'll get pretty fast spikes of blood pressure and autonomic dysreflexia if I use their chair. So for me, having a chair that has a custom molded cushion has made a big difference, and it's allowed me to customize my bowel routine more than I would have been able to customize it otherwise. Because it's the custom molded cushion, the time I spend in it doesn't matter as much at all, really. So I've developed a morning program that is longer than some of you may be used to. It's longer than the program that I started with, but it's helped me become the most regular, and honestly, it's helped my diet and my whole daily routine. So I'll go through that in a little more detail here in a second, but a big part of my personal routine is the fact that I'm in a custom molded cushion, and I think that's important for people to know, because if you have a generic chair and you have any skin breakdown issues, especially if you're skinny like me, that will be a concern, and that might limit your ability to spend time in the chair. So that's always something to think about. So when I'm in my chair, I've transferred into my chair, I'm ready to start my bowel program basically. The first thing I do is drink a 12-ounce glass of water, sometimes a little more if I'm feeling, especially dehydrated, or if my night catch bag doesn't have much in it, I can tell I need to hydrate more, I'll drink a little more water. But every morning I have a 12-ounce glass of water with D-mannose in it, and the enzyme that helps prohibit crystallization in the bladder, so it helps the sediment stay down in the bladder, which a lot of people with suprapubic catheters or indwelling catheters will benefit from that if you don't already know about it. So I put D-mannose in the water, and then I put sodium ascorbate, which is a buffered non-acidic version of vitamin C. I use a Nutribiotic brand, really well sourced, and I take between 1,500 and 2,300 milligrams of sodium ascorbate each morning. So a fairly large dose of vitamin C to help flush toxicity out of my system. And as you might know, we don't make our own vitamin C, so it's a really important thing to have in your cycle. And also, drinking water helps hydrate the body and hydrate the digestive tract, and helps with elimination as well. So I drink the water, and then after I have the water, I put it in a suppository. I use the Magic Bullet suppository. I've also used Enemies, the liquid-based suppository. They both work really well. The ones at the grocery store have never really worked for me. So if I run out, it can be a problem quickly. So I try to keep the suppositories well stocked, and I take it after the water, because I have found that if I take the suppository before I do everything else, sometimes it'll start to work before I've really primed my body to eliminate. So I've actually started taking my suppository a little bit later into my program, so that I have some of these other things in me, and I've noticed more success there. So after the suppository, for me, I basically do a liquid diet in the morning, and anyway, I'll go through it. So I start off with bulletproof coffee. It's about 12 to 16 ounces of coffee, and so usually sometime between when I drink the water and when I start drinking the coffee, usually the suppository starts to work and my elimination starts. The bulletproof coffee that I take, it has a third of a stick of butter in it, 2 tablespoons of coconut oil, and a teaspoon of chaga mushroom extract. Currently about 20-1 is the concentration of the chaga mushroom extract. I take a lot of oil because I'm on a quasi-keto diet, ketogenic diet, so that I'm largely relying on fat for fuel. And I try to limit my carbohydrate intake, my starch intake definitely, but my carbohydrate intake in general, to keep everything moving through a little more quickly, and to avoid spikes in my keeping my blood sugar basically in check. So I'm relying on fats for basically all my fuel during the day instead of carbohydrates. So that's why I have a third of a stick of butter in my coffee and 2 tablespoons of coconut oil in my coffee. After my coffee, I take a smoothie, which has some supplements in it. It's like a Vitamix style smoothie where the pulp is still, the pulp and the fiber are still intact. And so in the smoothie, the recipe for the smoothie is, if you guys want to ask me later, I can give you more of the portions. But basically, I put in banana, kale, mixed frozen fruit actually, half an avocado, 2 more tablespoons of coconut oil, spirulina, and then the least amount of apple juice necessary to thin it out enough to make it drinkable. And then for supplements, I add lion's mane extract, reishi mushroom extract, and then I add the herbs ashwagandha, foti, or heishu wu, which is a Chinese herb that actually helps lubricate the colon, so that's good for eliminating maca root powder, yohimbe root powder, and creatine. And I don't take a lot of creatine, but creatine does help your body retain water. And when it comes to muscle contracture, spasticity, and definitely elimination, keeping your tissues hydrated is really important. Other than just drinking water, having the ability to retain some water helps with that as well. Okay, so that's all the stuff that's in my smoothie. Then I make a third drink, and that's a straight up vegetable juice with carrots, kale, apple, cilantro, celery, cucumber, lemon, beets, ginger root, and garlic in their various amounts. And so basically, you know, I've had my bulletproof coffee, I've had my smoothie, and I've had my veggie juice, all within the first hour to hour and a half of being in the chair, basically being out of bed. So that really helps me in several ways. Basically, I've gotten all my micronutrients for the day, plus with the amount of fat that I'm taking in that's uncooked, I'm getting a lot of fuel that I can use for the day. So for the most part, I don't need much in my diet the rest of the day, except for adding more macronutrients to keep up with my energy level and my output level and my recovery cycle and possibly muscle building cycle if I'm doing things right. So at this point, it's between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m., maybe as late as 10, and I've gotten all my nutrition for the day. The fat content in these drinks is sustaining enough so that typically I don't feel like I need to eat urgently till 4, 5, or 6 o'clock. I usually try to eat earlier than that, more like 2 or 3 o'clock. Basically, I try to eat one substantial solid meal after the liquid diet in the morning within an 8-hour period of starting in the morning time, which is, you know, basically intermittent fasting, so that I have a 16-hour cycle every day where my body has a chance to work on digestion, work on mucoid layers in my colon, you know, heal anything in my body that needs to heal, and you know, give me energy for the day. So, you know, as soon as I've done that liquid diet in the morning, like I said, I've basically gotten everything I need for the day, and I have the energy level I need to sustain my therapies and my workouts and my appointments and anything else that I want to do during the day, so that I'm not limited by that. And then I just have one more meal to sort out, and then I'm done for the day. So it saves a lot of time, and you know, I try not to graze or to eat for entertainment, because, you know, if you're constantly eating and adding layers of material in there, you're more likely to get constipated. So if you can find just the right amount to get everything you need and still stay on top of your elimination without getting backed up, getting toxic, getting mucus going, which causes, you know, mucoid plaque and causes other issues, hinders your ability to uptake nutrients. So then all of a sudden you have to eat more to try to get what you need, and then have more adverse effects from eating more. So, you know, really dialing things in and eating just what you need, getting just what you need, and setting yourself up so that your elimination is maximized, you're much less likely to deal with any inconvenient events that might happen when you're away from your house, and you know, and then you won't have that weighing on your mind when you make your plans. So for me, this is, you know, my routine in the morning is the absolute fundamental basis for my bowel health and my regularity, and it served me really well. Knock on wood, I've not had many issues in the past 6 years, definitely, out of the 8 years that I've been since my injury. So I'm glad to share that with you guys. And beyond this, we'll talk a little more about some of the other points that need to be observed in terms of lifestyle and your regimen, maybe a little more about diet, and you can see we'll see if we can attach a PDF to this video for further information. Thanks, see you next time.